Happy Wednesday. Okay, today we are going to be working in lesson 10-3 and 10-4. And both of these lessons really can be approached by thinking about partial sums. Remember when we added parts of the numbers in order to get to the bigger number? It's just an easy way to break down the numbers that are too large to just do in our head. You can also use mental math as a strategy for this if you are a really good thinker about math. Remember, if you have a good math brain, this is a good route for you to go with these problems. If you look at the one that is on page 597 in your book, it says, on Monday, 248 people visit the museum. On Tuesday, 325 people visit the museum. How many people visit on Monday and Tuesday? Solve any way you choose and be prepared to explain your thinking. So those are large numbers to be able to add together. And I'm sure you can think of lots of different ways that you can add those two numbers together, because it is an addition problem, isn't it? We have to find how many all together. So that means we are adding. You already know that 325 people visited on Tuesday and 248 people visited on Monday. So if you want to do a little bit of mental math, 248 is close to 250. And then just don't forget, when you add those together, you have to subtract 2 because you added 2 to round it up to 250. If not, if you want to do partial sums, you can. And in that way, you could use 200 and 300 because that's what's in your 100 spots. You could use the 40 and the 20 because that's in your tens, and the 8 and the 5 in your ones. And when you add all those together, you get 573. So that's how you could go about adding those together. Now you'll start to notice that in your book, they say things like add any way you want, or just prepared to be able to explain your answer. So whichever way you are choosing to complete this work, make sure that you are able to explain why it works. That's the difference, moms and dads, with this new math, is that we're now having to explain in words what we're actually doing mathematically. So, are you ready to look at a couple? I would suggest, it looks like in lesson 10-2, or excuse me, 10-3, you have many choices as far as how to complete it. It just says use any strategy. So if you really want to just put your numbers on top of each other, vertically line them up, you can do that. Don't forget, you have to regroup. If you get to a 10 or more, you have to regroup, right? This might be a little challenging because the units that we led up to, we were kind of doing a lot of subtraction. So now that we're back into like mixed numbers and doing adding and subtracting, you have to really look for the keywords to know what to do next. I would like to give you some things out of 10-4 because that is using the partial sums, just to make sure that you understand. Are you ready?
Well, yeah.
Okay then. So in 10-4, if you look at in your book on page 603, they give you this problem. 243 plus 354. Okay, this is the problem that they gave you. And you can break it up into hundreds, tens, and ones. And it says that you can use your blocks. Remember, we talked about using, I had pretzel sticks, or I had lollipop sticks that I had to use for tens, and then I had Cheerios for ones, and then I had saltine crackers. You could use like graham crackers for the 100s. If you still want to use that type of thing to be able to do your math, you can. Otherwise, we're sticking to the numbers here. So 243 plus 354. So if I use partial sums, I would be looking at the 100s, which I have 200 plus 300. If I'm looking at the tens, I have 40 plus 50. And then if I'm looking at the ones, I have 3 plus 4. Okay? And then I would need to add all of those together. So I have 500, I have 90, and I have 7. Okay, and then I add all of those together and I get the number 597. That's using the partial sums. If you look ahead into the independent practice, there's a way to do this vertically. And I'll show you that. So 347 plus 242. This is number 3 in your independent practice. It looks like this. All right, so where is my partial sum for my hundreds? Right, look in your hundreds column, and how many do you see there? 5. So it would be 500, and this is how I would write it. And then how many tens do you see? Okay, 4 and 4 is 8. That would give me 80. How many ones do you see? Okay, 9. And this is what it would look like on my paper. And then I need to add those all together. And I get 589. This is using partial sums. Do you notice that there's a difference here? We're not adding straight columns. We are, but the way that we're documenting them down here is much different than just putting 2 columns or 3 of numbers. Okay, so this is called partial sums. Okay. Don't get too upset if this is really challenging for you, because I know a lot of you like to stack those numbers vertically and just add the columns. You just have to remember when to regroup. But this is another way that you can do it, and it's especially helpful if you are estimating, because sometimes you make an error, and we should be able to recognize when the number is way far off. Okay, so again, you're not doing all of the problems in the independent practice and homework. You're just working your way around, and have parents check to see how you're doing. Okay, I'll also make sure that I attach a Kahoot. I'm hoping that the Theme 9 Kahoot worked for you, and if it does and you like it, I'll attach an optional Kahoot for this unit as well. Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow, where we'll be wrapping up with 10-5, 10-6, and 10-7.